Today is May 24, 2024, 1:32 p.m. We are located at the Center for Sacramento History. Please state your full name and spell it, including any accents if you have any.
Richard L. Melendez, Richard R-I-C-H-A-R-D, middle initial L, and then Melendez, M-E-L-E-N-D-E-Z.
And your date of birth.
January 9th, 1951.
And where were you born?
Sacramento, California.
And what is your marital status?
Married.
How many children do you have?
One.
Okay, what is their name?
My son is Michael, same last name.
Okay. And where were you raised?
Sacramento, California.
Okay, what part of Sacramento?
Northern part of Sacramento.
Okay. North Highlands, Natomas?
No, Sacramento. We didn't refer to it as Natomas. It did not exist at the time. It was Northgate.
Got it. And what did your parents do for a living?
My father originally, as a young man, started as a field worker. My mother, a housewife. My father was basically retired from the post office, United States Post Office. My mother retired from cannery work.
What cannery did she work at?
All. Del Monte's cannery, what is it? Del Monte's, Campbell's Soups, all of them.
And how many brothers and sisters do you have?
6 brothers, excuse me, 6 total siblings. 3 brothers, 3 sisters.
And where are you?
Middle.
You're the middle of
Yep.
3 and 3.
Yep.
Okay. And what was the primary language spoken at home?
English. We had originally started off with Spanish, but in that time in history, basically, when we went to school, we were told English only.
Okay.
So we lost the Spanish ability and wound up just speaking English.
Did your parents speak English?
Oh, yeah. No, my parents spoke both. They were bilingual, Spanish and English. My father used to translate letters for Spanish-speaking people that would just get the English letters and vice versa. Mm-hmm. For English people, he would translate the Spanish letters.
And was he born here, or?
Yes, he was born in New Mexico. He was born in Valdo, New Mexico. Mm-hmm. My mother was born in Wyoming.
Mm-hmm. And how did they meet?
Migrant farm workers. They wound up meeting when they were a little bit older in Visalia, Tulare area.
Mm-hmm. And how did they end up in Sacramento?
Well, that's family squabbles. My mother and my grandmother did not get along, so they moved to Sacramento under threat from my mother to my father. So that's how we wound up here.
Mm-hmm. Did he have relatives here, or?
Yes, we had one aunt that was here in Sacramento. My uncle was working in Southern Pacific at that time. My father came up. He got on with the Southern Pacific Railroad. Then they closed it, so he was unemployed. Then he started hunting for a job. Then he wound up at the post office.
Yeah, that's a great job. I'm curious, did your parents graduate high school, or?
No. My father wound up finishing high school on night school. My mother did not finish.
Mm-hmm. So did they have elementary only, or do you know?
Elementary up until some high school. And then because of the need for them to be working, of course, my grandparents, and you got to come out of school and work.
Yeah.
So that's what they did.
Yeah, it's we didn't have child labor laws, especially for kids who worked in the fields. Migrant. That's why the whole migrant education thing was. So I was just curious about that. So you grow up in North Sacramento, and what is your experience like in your neighborhood?
The experiences in my neighborhood, I had no negative experiences. I think that it was ahead of its time in a sense. We were an extremely diverse group of kids. Okay, living in Northgate. Are you familiar with the North Sacramento area? You live in Northgate. Northgate is north-south. No, yeah, north-south. The west side of Northgate, where I lived, was at the end of a street. It was on Indiana Avenue, is where I grew up on. I would look west and I would see nothing from the end of my street till the coastal hills. It was all farmland before it developed into the Thomas area. I used to go to school, for example, with the Inderkum kids. You know, Inderkum High School, their family. So those are the types of people that we had in school. Now you look at the other side. You look at on the east side of Northgate, just on the other side of the levee is El Paso Heights. We all grew up together. We played all sports as we were kids together. So to us, it was just kids. That was all. So that's why I say I had no problem growing up. Every kid got into fights as far as it goes in arguments, but other than that, nothing. No gang fights till later. So, but that's all. That's how I grew up.
Yeah. And so tell me a little bit about elementary school. What kind of kid were you? And
I've always been an active child. In today's world, they call it, what is it, hyperactive ADD or whatever. But that's what I was like. My favorite thing was burning energy is running. I always ran. So that's what I did.
yeah. And did anything stand out in elementary school, like in terms of your schooling? Did you experience any discrimination or?
No. Everybody in our school, because we grew up together, played together, competed against each other. That's what we did. Now, our elementary school was predominantly white. Okay, Hispanic, no blacks. They were on the other side, as far as on the El Paso Heights side. But our school, no.
Mm-hmm. And you go into middle school or?
Yes, they called it, the middle school, junior high school. That was right across the street. Then we came mixed a little bit. Same thing, no problems.
And what about high school? Tell me about high school.
Oh, no, high school's a different thing. High school, you have a big mix of people, a bigger mix as far as it goes. Still diverse. We had white people, black people, brown people, Asian people. We had everybody there.
Mm-hmm. What high school was that?
Norte Del Rio High School. They graduated in 1969. Year 1969. We did have riots. So we had a big riot there. It was in the paper, everything.
What was the riot about?
I think more personality, but it was black on white. It was black on white. The kids from Grand Union High School came over and they attacked people at the school. And so it just all blew up.
What about Mexicans?
Well, no involvement. We just stood out of it. We just stood the heck out of it. I mean, with myself, in that situation, I had guys that I was on a track team with who carried a pipe, a black gentleman. He carried a pipe and I said, hey man, let's not do that. So I just took the pipe away from him and he got a little upset, but I said, hey, it's fine. We're okay. We'll just stay out of it. And that was pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. And you graduated from high school?
Yes.
And you said that was 69?
Yes.
And then what happens after high school?
Well, after high school, I started attending American River College with the track coach with Al Beta. At that particular point, the draft was still hanging over your head. So at that point, I just said, no, I just want to get this thing over with. The draft wasn't abolished at that time. So left college and went into service.
When you said you wanted to get this thing over with, you mean what? Like
the draft.
The draft.
Yeah.
So instead of them drafting you, you volunteered?
Yes.
And how old are you?
18.
And why did you talk to your parents, or your siblings, or I mean, what's the conversation? I mean,
My father was one, you make a decision, stick with it. So I just told him, Dad, I'm going to be going to service. And I told him the reason why. I told him the hanging over your head thing. I told him all about that. And I just told him I was going to go in service. My anticipation was to go in the service and become a physical therapist. I was going to be stationed to San Antonio, Texas with the medical training they have over there. It didn't work out. I just went in service after basic training. During basic training, they give you tests and see where you're going to wind up at, what they could use you for. Back up a little bit. One of the reasons I went into the service is because the idea was to become a physical therapist. But what I also wanted to do was be stateside so that I could run with the U.S. Army track team. So during basic training, we were given tests. I was called for a meeting, and I was offered this position with the Special Forces groups. I had to go to training with them. They offered the training, and so I'm hearing special. I'm thinking running special, special services. Well, from a kid from Northgate, he doesn't listen too well sometimes. Anyway, so it was wound up where I asked the gentleman that was interviewing, am I going to be running? Oh, yeah, you'll be running quite a bit. And so I didn't know that he meant jump school. So with jump school, you're running everywhere. So long story short, basically that's what occurred. I wound up in the service. But I was going to be a physical therapist.
so tell me what branch of the service?
Army.
Okay. And where did you go to basic training at?
Fort Lewis, Washington.
And tell me about that experience.
Miserable. Miserable. The problem that I have with basic training is I went in October. Okay. Now that's the beginning of up there, the major rainy season. So as you go further into the winter months, it gets colder. And so this whole time I'm going through basic training, you're what they call bivouac. You're out walking, you're learning how to survive in the field. So that's what happens, and you don't use tents, we use just what we had on. So all of that, the sleet, the snow, the rain, the cold, that was miserable.
And what are you thinking? Are you thinking, I can't wait to get this over with, or?
I just want to get someplace warm.
Yeah.
That's it.
And you signed up for how many years?
3 years.
And why did you do 3 and not 2?
Well, the assignment with Special Forces, it's a volunteer position. You have to be 3. You don't do 2. Your training in itself would take about a year and a half.
Okay. So after basic training, they send you to whatever.
No, I stood at Fort Lewis. That was my mistake. But it was getting towards springtime, so I stood at Fort Lewis. They called that AIT, Advanced Infantry Training, or individual training. Mine was infantry. And so that's what I did there. So I stood there until, I think it was April. So from October till April, I was at Fort Lewis.
And then what happened?
After that, I was sent to Fort Benning, Georgia for jump school. And after that, I was sent to North Carolina, Fort Bragg for Special Forces training.
So tell me what that means for jump school. What does that mean? You jump out of a plane.
Yeah. You jump out of airplanes. And so that's where you're running. And you have to be in really physical shape to be able to come out of the airplane, land on your feet, make sure you don't injure yourself.
So had you had any experience at jumping? So tell me what that was like. I mean, are you terrified? Are you...
Initially, you're really, really nervous, but then you're extremely well trained. You know what you're doing. You know what to do. You're just going through it all the time. So when you get up on the airplane for your first jump, you're shaking a little bit, but after you exit the door, you're just floating. It's just a piece of cake from there. It's just the landing, that was all. And so the next times you go up, it's less and less and less.
Yeah. So, on your off time, do you venture out or in Georgia?
No, you have no off time. It was all training. You're in training. When you're in training, you don't leave. You're there. You don't go.
And did you make any buddies there, or?
Oh yeah. From the ones that I had met, I don't see them, but I had gone to basic training in AIT or with some of them, and we wound up at jump school. There was an episode where I was accused of smoking marijuana, and with this other gentleman, wasn't smoking ever. So I was held there, and the people that I was familiar with, they left to the Special Forces training in North Carolina, and then I caught up with them later. But they were ahead of me as far as in training. So they went to where they went to, and I had to catch up.
Mm-hmm. And so then what happens after that, after Georgia? Where do they send you?
Fort Bragg, North Carolina, the Special Forces training.
Okay. And how's that? Tell me what happens.
Well, in Special Forces training, you have different fields. You have the engineering, you have the medical field, you have the weapons field, and then there was another one, I forgot on that one. But my specialty was weapons.
Mm-hmm. And then how long are you there?
Oh, you'd be there 6 months. You'd be there for quite a while.
And so what happens after that?
For me, Vietnam.
Are you know it's coming?
I knew it was coming. See, part of the deal when you're in the Special Forces group, my thing was weapons. I didn't stay with the Special Forces groups because one is I didn't like what I was hearing that I was going to have to do. So I dropped out of that particular program, and that's when I got shipped to Vietnam. But as far as what I had done already, I had done extensive jungle training for 30 days. I was stuck out in the what do you call it, the forest in North Carolina. We were taught extensively map reading, and not just I'm gonna look at this. No. It was extensive. I could shoot you something as far as it goes up from here to the the North Pole, and just find everything from there. And this is what they taught you. They taught you how to read maps without topographical maps. The difference in the written and show you little points of topography, and they don't show you anything, just a bunch of lines. So we know how to deal with those. We know how to do coordination between all the different branches of service for an attack. That's what they taught you. So going to Vietnam, oh no, I knew what was coming.
Mm-hmm. And so when you get notice that you're going, do you get to call your parents, or how does that
I had
work?
30 days leave before I left.
Oh, that's right. They do the 30 days. And so you came home.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you do for those 30 days?
Said byes. I visited families down in the Visalia area. That's all my family's down in the Central Valley. So just went and said so long, and that's what I did.
And what are people saying to you? What are your siblings saying to you?
What normal siblings would say at that particular time? Are you crazy? Are you stupid? What are you doing? Blah 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 blah. Canada's just up the road. The whole thing.
Yeah, so not very understanding.
No. They thought I should have finished school, which I agree. I should have finished school, but
Mm-hmm. And so your 30 days are up, and
Mm-hmm.
now you go from Oakland to straight to Vietnam? Or?
No, I went from my departure point was back to Seattle, back to Washington. I left from what they call SeaTac Air Force Base. I think. Anyway, I left from there, and that's when we went to Vietnam.
Mm-hmm. And so you arrive in Vietnam. It's when? What year is this?
Oh, 70, 1970.
Right in the thick of it.
No, the thick of it was 68. That was the thick of it. Me, it was, I read, I meet some old timers. We have in this particular group what's called a reunion every year. So we meet them, and they call us babies. We came late, and I do agree with that.
Okay, so you're there in 1970, and what happens?
Well, the first thing I got was a shock, as far as getting off the airplane. Being from California, you don't know these things. I got off the airplane, it felt like somebody hit me. It was just so hot. I mean, it was extremely hot. So that was the first experience that I had. And just, I knew I was going to have to adjust to that. So from there, I got off the airplane. I landed in a place called Cameron Bay. And for some reason or other, they didn't know what to do with me or where I was supposed to be. So I wound up staying in Cameron Bay for about 30 days and got used to the weather. I was put on guard duty from 6 p.m. to 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. So I had the rest of the time off. That's when I just wandered around a little bit. But after that, the 30 days, that's when I got sent into the 173rd Airborne Brigade.
Okay.
And that's when it all started.
Okay, so tell me about that experience.
My experiences, like I asked you, what have you heard? What have you learned about this? My experiences were all jungle. That's my experience. Out of the time I was there, I tell my wife that I maybe came out of the jungles a week, and that was it. I was a hunter. I call them hunters. The picture I gave you, that's why I called it my hunting party. That's all we did.
Mm-hmm. And how is it to be in the jungle? What does that feel like?
How does it feel? I don't know how to explain it. 24 hours a day of fear.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of adrenaline.
Mm-hmm.
How do you stay awake?
Oh, how do you stay awake? It's like how I stay awake now. I do the same thing. I stay awake. I hear noises at night. I'm poof. You don't sleep. You're just kind of halfway there. You don't REM sleep at all. You're just basically waiting to hear a noise. You're on guard all the time.
Mm-hmm. Did you get to experience any direct contact?
That's what that is. Yes. You don't get these without experience combat.
Do you want to share a little bit about that? What happened?
We ambushed people. We got ambushed. And it was just different. Don't know how to explain it. Really don't know.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. And you said you were in the jungle, and is there anything of the jungle that you can visualize? What stands out the most if you were to explain what you saw? Snakes? Are there?
I look at it in different ways. Okay, I think to block a lot of things out, I would walk and I would just see things. For me, it's the incredible moments. Okay, I try not to remember the negative stuff like the fighting, the ambushing, being ambushed. Those things are, yeah. But maybe this is why I should have brought pictures. But for me, I don't recall even right now what you call them. I would walk through these little stream beds, and they were dry. But you'd walk in, I would see these on the rocks. You know how it's imprinted with some figures, fish figures, or whatever the case would be. I don't know what you call it, but I would just see them all over the place, and I'm thinking, wow, this is incredible. So I would see. That's what I remember. I remember sitting on top of a kind of like a coastal hill over here, overlooking the South China Sea. The one I remember the most is watching a moonrise. I'm at the top of the hill, and I'm on guard, just watching everything, and I'm looking over at the little horizon of the South China Sea. And in today's world, you look at it, and it's kind of like you see a Godzilla movie where a little bubbling of the water is and stuff. And so I'm looking out at the horizon. I'm looking at this thing, and it's just starting to bubble, and it's white. And I'm looking, okay, just like a little wave coming in, but it's bubbling. And all it is the wave. And the next thing I see is the moon pop up, poof. And it was incredible. It was incredible. The next thing I remember the most out of that is watching the Milky Way. Unobstructed views. I mean, no pollution, nothing. Just the Milky Way. And all this was on that little hill. But that's the things I try to remember.
Yeah.
Oh, the other one? The last one I think I remember is sitting on top of another, I'm going to call this a mountain. Okay, we walked all day long, get from the bottom to the top. And we wound up and saw a storm come in. And the storm was doing nothing but below us. We were just like Zeus and all the Greek gods looking down. And we see the lightning going off, we see the storm happening, and we were not near it. We were on top of it watching.
Wow.
It was incredible. But those are the positive things. So, of course, the negative things.
Yeah. When you are in the jungle and you're just trying to stay alive, basically, right? Do you have thoughts about your family, or like, I just don't know what that would be like. So I mean, what happens when are you ever like alone with your thoughts?
No. My only thought is staying alive and watching who's where. That was my only thought. Mm-hmm. Okay. I got scolded by my commanding officer, the captain. My parents complained to them to the Red Cross that they hadn't heard from me. They wanted to know if I was alive or not. So he told me to sit down and write a letter. So I had to write the letter.
Mm-hmm. And you didn't want to write them, or?
I just didn't think about it. I just didn't think about it. No. But that was it. I guess I really wasn't thoughtful in that respect. You know, it just didn't dwell on me to write home. No.
Did you have a girlfriend or back home?
Oh, I had a lady I was seeing before I left, and we discussed the fact of, do you want me to wait for you type stuff, and I told her no. And I was honest, and she wouldn't wait. I said, no, there's no way. So, and the reason I said that is because I had heard about Dear John letters, and I no way in the world I wanted to receive that. And so I just told her, no, dude, you got to do what you got to do, be who you're with, and it doesn't bother me. Just, that's it.
Yeah, I get that. So you're in the jungle for how long?
365, 258 days. No, 358 days. I tell you, I didn't come out maybe 7 days. That's what that group will tell you. That group right there, the stories are, and I've not verified the stories are, it was the longest sustained combat role, military, army-wise, since the Civil War. The 173rd Airborne Brigade never got out of the jungle. They always had somebody in the jungle, always. When somebody got hit, we were sent to go help.
Like a rescue force, almost?
Yeah. And we weren't the only ones. Everybody did that. Everybody went here or there. But if we got out of the jungle, we go back into what's called an LZ. If one of those got hit, then if we had 3-4 days out of the jungle, if they got hit on day 2, we'd have to go out. That's it.
And did you lose any of your buddies in combat?
None lost. A lot wounded, but none lost.
Mm-hmm. Were you wounded?
No. Thank you, Lord. No.
Mm-hmm. How do you think you managed that?
I carried a big gun. I carried an M60 machine gun.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so you get out and then, like, what happens? Do they have to, like, reintroduce you to the world? Or, I mean, what happened? Do they put you in a...
Oh, after I got out of the service?
No, out of the jungle for that long. Like, what do they do? I mean, you would think, right?
I think they didn't like us coming out of the jungle is because we fought a lot. It wasn't racial. It was just we fought a lot. Example, when Nixon said no combat operations, well, they brought us out. So what happens is that we go to this little place. It's we call it a day room. It's like a little small hall. And we noticed there was some chairs, and so we asked, well, what's going on? Well, they're going to have a show tonight. And so we're there, and we're infantry. We have no jobs other than to just go on the field. We carried weapons everywhere we went. People turned in guns when they got out of a clerk. You can't have a weapon. You have to go get it. You have to sign for it. And then you turn it back in. We didn't do that. We slept with ours.
Why? It's just they didn't have the regulation?
Natural. Just no natural. I didn't let my weapon go anywhere. It went with me. And if I didn't have it, my ammo bearer took care of it. If I didn't have the weapon, I had a .45. But anyway, so we're out of the jungle. We come. So we're in this club. Like I said, we had nothing to do, so we're just drinking beer. So we got there about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, started just drinking, playing pool. So around 7 o'clock, what happens is that this group of people started putting up instruments and says, oh, this is nice. So we went and sat down on the table, the chairs. A group of guys come in. They're from the 1st Cav. They come in and they tell us, well, you guys got our chairs. You know, we're smart asses. I mean, we're really big smart asses. So we look at each other, are they selling tickets here? So we get into the whole discussion. So what happens at the end is, this is no, we want our chairs. We want the spots. This is no, we all get up in unison, just fold the chairs, here's your chairs. No, we want the spot. No ticket sales, first come, first serve, blows start. The show didn't go on. It just canceled everything, and next thing we know, we're doing perimeter security. So all we're doing is going around. And you get in the helicopters, and with our ground combat operations stopped. Well, nobody said how wide your perimeter is, and so they stuck us out in the jungle again. We didn't behave. There was a rumor, to give you what the group is like, there was a rumor that Bob Hope wouldn't play if anybody from the group was there. They had a show one time, they attacked his women. That's the group.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So,
we didn't know how to behave when we came out of the jungle.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And how old are you by then?
19.
Just a
19
baby.
or 18, 19 or 20, everybody.
Yeah. And how long are you in Vietnam?
A year.
Okay. And then what happens?
After that, got sent back home.
So you're done with your 3 years?
No, I went back, and the reason we got sent back is the whole unit. This was towards the end of the war. Okay, so they deactivated 173rd. all of us that were in it got sent back into Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Excuse me, Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and that was with the 101st Airborne Division. That's where we went. But no, it didn't stop. I still had a few more months to go before I was released.
Okay. Are you thinking in that time that you're ready to go home?
Oh, I knew I wasn't ready to go home. Oh, I knew it. Is because when we came back to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, the welcome home was pathetic. The group basically as well, so that you'll know, was notorious for alcoholism and drug use. Okay, so we came back to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, as a unit, and we're passing by this gigantic billboard. And the billboard is simply stating, "Welcome home, 173rd Airborne Brigade." Christ is on the cross, hypodermic needles all on him. That was our welcome home. We weren't too welcome.
And when you said that it was notorious for alcohol and drug use, can you tell me some of the drugs?
You name it. You name it. Mm-hmm. You had marijuana, you had opium, you had heroin. I mean, you name it, you had it.
Mm-hmm. Were you also using?
No. The difference is you're going to find a lot of people, like with myself, who were in the jungles, no access to it, first of all. But the main thing is we wanted our senses. I couldn't be out there without my senses. No.
That's a very good point. That's a very good
So, but even when out of the field, no, I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
No.
But you were drinking alcohol.
I had never drank alcohol till I got to Vietnam, but I only drank it once, and that was on my birthday. I barely remember that. I was so drunk. I was so drunk that I passed out. Okay, and we had a rival company, same unit, different company. They decided they wanted to throw a tear gas canister in the tent. So I'm sleeping in the tent. I'm so drunk I slept through it. You ever smelled tear gas?
No, I haven't.
I slept through it. I mean, I got up the next morning, they asked me, they look at me, they're all shocked. And I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "You still alive?" And I said, "Why?" I said, then they told me what happened. I didn't know what happened. They just told me what happened. I said, okay. But that was the only time I got drunk.
Okay. What about your buddies? Were you aware that they were using drugs or?
Oh, yeah, everybody knew everybody. Everybody knew everybody. Everybody knew what everybody was doing. You had your smokers, you had your drinkers, you had your drug users. They didn't interact. Okay, me, I didn't do either one of them, so I was able to go back and forth.
Mm-hmm. And what's the sort of culture in that environment? Is everyone just accepting? It's not a big deal, or, I mean,
accepting. Everybody, like I said, everybody knew. It wasn't any secrets. Everybody knew.
Yeah. Okay, so then when you go home, eventually, and you're 21, 22?
20.
20?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tell me about what happens then.
Well, like I said, the first thing we did is come into Fort Campbell.
Uh-huh.
Like I told you, it was a rowdy group of people. So one day, we had the day off. We went to this little nightclub again. It's kind of like what I had mentioned to you in Nam, and we were just drinking beer. The band was playing in the evening, and the welcome is, the first thing that was done, first thing that was said. We want to welcome, all the animals at the table right there. And we just look at each other, what? And so one guy gets up and, are you talking to us? And And he said, yeah, all the animals right over there, including you. And it was over. It was on. And so we tore up the band. We tore up the band's equipment. We tore up the band's fans. And they closed the bar. But that's one of the things. But other than that, it was just, that was part of it. Drinking started for me then. And I found I wasn't a good drunk. I just was not a good drunk.
What made you a bad drunk?
I blank out. Blank, and I don't remember. Though it wasn't radical drinking back then. That was when I got back here to Sacramento. But it was just
You black out.
just black out. I didn't like the feeling of blacking out. That's why I don't drink anymore. I just don't drink.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so you make it back to Sacramento,
Mm-hmm.
and you're what do you do? Do you go back to college?
Tried to go back to college.
American River?
No, consumist. It didn't work out. I just couldn't concentrate. I couldn't concentrate there. And it took me a long time to get over that. I can't concentrate. And that's where my wife comes in. But
So
that's...
tell me, okay, so you come back, are you living with your parents? Or are you getting an apartment?
No, I'm living with my parents.
Uh-huh. And your siblings are all gone? Or
They're gone. Yeah, they're all grown up.
So you're a grown man with
Live
your
with me.
parents.
Mhm.
And how was that?
Well, they were accepting. Don't get me wrong. My parents were accepting. It was just me who couldn't adjust. I think from that point when I got back up until when it actually did occur, I didn't realize anything to do with PTSD. Nothing. And everything that was occurring to me was it was all PTSD. The alcoholism, the inability to find a job, keep a job, just going off the handle, everything. It was insane.
And during that time period, folks didn't talk about PTSD, correct?
Correct. Nobody talked about
So
PTSD.
what do you think is what do you think is happening to you?
What I think is just, I don't know. I couldn't understand it. I mean, I didn't even think about what was happening. It was just happening. I didn't dwell on what was going on to me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so what kind of jobs did you do?
Oh, I messed up some pretty good jobs. Messed up some really good jobs. I came back. One of the first things that I did, this was one of the great jobs I was telling you about. I first come back from Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And from that, I had a job waiting for me. It was at this 5th and Broadway, this fish plant over here. And so I didn't show up for the, first thing I was drunk. I was just drunk on my ass. I mean, the guy asked me, "You're going to come in?" "Oh, no, I can't come in." He said, "Well, don't bother coming in then." Okay. So one of the jobs that I had that was an excellent job was as a pressman's apprentice at the Sacramento Bee. No, I'd rather go play flag football with the city. So that was it. So, but I just kicked myself in the ass on that one because that was a really nice job. Good people, really nice place. I even told Eleanor McClatchy, she wanted a husband. I mean, weren't available. So, she said no. No, how come? But it was just a job like the state of California. Same thing, attendance, everything. That's what I'm saying. Good jobs, just didn't have the ability to keep them.
Did you have any friends that had came back from Vietnam that you all hung out or talked about this? Or?
Oh, I'm going to see them next in about a week and a half.
But I mean, when you first came, when you were a kid, when you got back.
No, didn't see them.
Yeah. So.
The ones, I take that back. The ones that I didn't see them. No, because they were dead. No, didn't see them. Just flashed on them. Sorry.
And so you never finished college.
Mm-mm.
And you told me about your wife. When does she come in the picture?
1979. That was after I came back, and about 8 years later, about I guess 71, 72, about 70, about 8 years later.
Are you more stable then, or
No,
you're still in and out of jobs?
yeah. When I met my wife, living at home, no job, no money, and just went to this club one time, and I saw this lady just standing there, and so she had this great smile, and so I just told the guy I was with, hey, I'm gonna go talk to this lady, and so we just hit it off. And so from then on, what she did, I think more than anything or more than anybody, including my family, is listened. She listened. So from that point on, everything's changed.
You're how old when you meet her?
Oh gosh, I don't even. I think 29, 28, in there someplace.
And how old was she?
She's a year younger than I am.
Oh, not that much of a difference. And you get married?
Mm-hmm.
How long after that?
Oh, my wife and I knew each other. That's another story. The night I met her, I had to leave because the guy was messing with some lady that was married. Her husband walks in. He comes over, gets me. Here, we gotta go. He tells me how come. Tell my wife, I gotta go. I gotta take him home before he gets killed. Anyway, so at that point, I didn't even get her name. And so the next thing I know is that I'm out on a date with this other lady, and this is, I don't know if you're familiar with the club action that was going on in old Sacramento back disco days, late. So I'm in this club, steam navigation, and so I'm with this date, and I see this lady, and it was my wife. Now I see her standing over there. I say, I excuse myself to the date. Would you mind if I go say hi to this person? And so she's drunk. I mean, she is so wasted.
Your wife is, or the date?
No, my wife is. And so I go over to try to talk to her. And so I say, I said, I don't know if you remember me. And she just give me that big old smile, just drunk smile and stuff. Oh, I remember you. I said, yes, but I don't think you're going to remember the conversation tomorrow. So I tell you what, I'll see you again. So, boom. So I met my wife 3 times before we really got together. And so that was over a number of years, 3 years or so. Or no, it took about 2 years or so. So, but the main thing with my wife is the ability to listen. She has this great ear. Mm-hmm. Great ear.
And you get married where?
Capitol Park. Mm-hmm. We got married at Capitol Park here in Sacramento.
Are you 30?
Oh, probably 30, 31 in there someplace.
Yeah. And you have a child, your son?
No, I had a son from previous.
From previous?
Yeah.
Got it. No children with your wife?
No.
Okay. So you get a job? You get a job eventually?
Yeah.
Okay. And where are you?
I wound up retiring from AT&T.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Oh, no. Thank you, Lord. I didn't blow that one up.
Why do you think you didn't blow it up? Why do you think? What happened?
My wife. She listened. I was able to talk a lot about different things. My concerns, what I was feeling. Pretty much that's everything. What we're discussing as far as the feelings over there, the feelings when I came back, what happened to me when I came back. She knows everything. She knows everything.
We should interview her.
Pardon me?
We should interview her.
No, her degree's in psychology.
Okay, so
she's been analyzing me since we met.
So you've been married how long?
Rough, I think close to 40 years.
And you're retired now?
Mm-hmm.
And when did you start learning about PTSD? When did that sort of enter? Was it through your wife? You said she was a...
No, actually, when I learned about PTSD, is when my my mother was having a birthday party, and my sister had this guy that she had hired as a disc jockey for the party, and so she had told him that her brother, me, was in Vietnam with the same unit he was with. And so I said, I got to meet him. And so I had walked over when he was driving up, and I said, hey, I understand you were a sky soldier. He said, you must be rich. I said, yeah. Anyway, so we started talking. And so we decided we were going to do a Halloween party at this VFW hall on Broadway. Off Broadway, Stockton Boulevard on Broadway.
Yeah.
So we threw a Halloween party there. So we got to know people, and they got to know us. And so some guy come over and said, have you guys looked into PTSD and stuff? And so that's how we got started.
So what did you learn? What did you learn about PTSD?
How screwed up I was. That's what I really learned. And
did it make sense finally?
Yeah. Some of the things that occurred still don't make sense to me. I still dwell on them. Dreams are one thing. Memories are the other thing. I still get up in the middle of the night, what they call walking a perimeter. I get up in the middle of the night at 2, 3 in the morning. I get up, walking around the house, checking at my doors, looking at the windows, looking outside, see what's going on. That's what I'm doing. Every night, I still do it. I did it last night.
Mm-hmm. What other symptoms did you have?
Oh, symptoms in relation to when I was there to when I now? Oh my God.
No, I mean just PTSD, because a lot of folks talk about it manifesting in different ways.
Well, PTSD basically, or from what I understand, when I come up with a broken relationship, you can't maintain a relationship, alcoholism, drug use, irritabilities, not able to hold your temper. That's why we got in a lot of fights, is we couldn't hold our temper. Anything would just set us off, anything. Mm-hmm. And now I just look at it and when I get upset, I'm retired. I don't have to hurry. I don't have to worry about it. I just talk myself out of it.
How do you feel about your service?
My time in the service?
Yeah.
Oh no, my time in the service.
Looking back.
Oh no, overall, I have no complaints about the service. I was okay with it. I knew why I went in, and I couldn't blame anybody but myself as far as for anything that occurred to me within the service. No, that's on me. There's nobody else. Mm-hmm. Everything that occurred to me in the military was me.
And what do you think you wished your parents or your siblings knew about you? Looking back, when you came back and...
It's kind of hard to answer your question, simply because we were the type of a family, we basically shared everything, shared what was going on with us. My siblings knew me. They knew me. They do say I've changed a lot, but I don't see the changes. I'd have to ask them. I don't see it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, in closing, what advice would you give somebody who wanted to go into the military?
Oh, that's easy. I told my son, he wanted to go in the military. He wanted to go into the Army. I said, no. I said, I prefer you go to college. You need to do this. I told him, you have a choice. You can go in the military. You can do the Army. No. You can do the Marine Corps. No. Navy or Air Force. That's all. And he goes, well, why? I said, well, because they don't do a whole lot of combat. Okay, they'll go to combat areas, but the primary thing is no. Air Force, Navy. Told him that they're better trained educationally. Oh my God. He was trained in jet engines. So I told him, you get out, you can work at the airport. He wound up working at AT&T also. But my grandson, on the other hand, he's like me, don't listen to anybody. He wound up being he went to the Army, went to Airborne, and went into Ranger School. So he's Airborne Ranger. And I told him, son, don't you know what's going to happen? No. He said, well, you did it, Grandpa. Yeah. I said, okay, so yeah, you're hard-headed, just like me. I wanted to share with you, if you wanted a picture. This is the 173rd Airborne Brigade's memorial. This little track at the museum, they have a back little thing. It's a meditation area, I'll call it, but it is the first one. When you walk into these steps, this is from the building from the museum. This is going into the memorial section.
Yeah.
This is the first thing you see. And this is designated that way is because the 173rd Airborne Brigade was the first Army unit to go into Vietnam. When you come out, you go out the same way. It's the last to leave. And so you first in, last out. That's the whole thing. This also, historically, is the only memorial within the United States that lists foreign Army dead. We worked a lot with the Australians. They were our support. They were our
I didn't know
artillery. They were our. They did all that. But that's this unit. When this was dedicated in August of 2010, the Australian Army came over and participated in this. So, but that's the only unit. This is what the emblem for the herd is for the 173rd. It's a wing. They call them sky soldiers. They were nicknamed that by the Chinese, is because they would jump. So that's what they nicknamed them, as the sky soldiers.